Welcome back, Nerd Squad, the Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers. If you happen to be new here, we are an exciting nerd-centric channel with top 10 lists about your favorite comic book characters, and sometimes we delve into the movie business as well, which is exactly what we're doing here today. So tap that subscribe button to never miss another video, and leave us a comment down below with who your favorite X-Men character is. Now let's get into today's video, the Dark Phoenix ending explained. And of course, if you haven't watched the movie, there will of course be spoilers ahead. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to it.
Something's happening to me.
When I lose control, bad things happen.
The X-Men franchise has lasted nearly 2 decades and actually paved the way for superhero films to become beloved by mainstream audiences. One would argue that without Fox putting in the time to create these films, we may have cared less about the MCU. Although with Disney acquiring Fox, the Dark Phoenix film had no choice but to end the film with a clean wrap-up of all the previous movies. At the time of making the film, the deal was unknown to the directors, so throughout filming, they actually had to drastically change the ending a few different times just to get things right. Throughout the film, we see Jean being coached by this mysterious woman who we later discover is called Vuk. It is an X-Men film, but the majority of the movie is centered around Jean Grey's character. And as Jean struggles with the Phoenix Force that she acquired during a space mission, she meets Vuk. Vuk is essentially a representative for this shape-shifting alien race known as the Dabari. Her own planet and people had been destroyed by the Phoenix Force, so now as the antagonist for the film, she hopes to take the power for herself to rebuild a new home for her people. However, that also means wiping out life on Earth to make room for this alien invasion. With Jean's already powerful psychic abilities now merged with this cosmic force, she turns against her friends. Jean actually even gives up some of the cosmic force to Vuk before realizing her true intentions. It also doesn't help the X-Men's cause that Charles had been lying to Jean this entire time. But he then realizes that in order to assist Jean in taming the Phoenix Force, Xavier must tell her the truth about her childhood. You see, when Jean was a child, her telepathic powers accidentally led to the car crash that killed her own mother. Her father had survived but was so terrified of Jean that he turned her over to Charles. As such, Charles believed he was helping Jean by telling her that her father also died in the crash. Near the ending of the film though, Jean realizes that Xavier's intentions were good and that he merely was acting out of compassion. The X-Men and the Dabari then engage in a battle on an armored train, which is where we see Jean finally confronting Vuk, who was attempting to steal the rest of the Phoenix Force for herself. Ultimately, Jean overpowers her as she flies both Vuk and herself into space to finish the fight. When this happens, Jean not only destroys the last of the Dabari, but she takes her own life in the process. Although it's implied that Jean continues to live on in the cosmic power as we see a fiery phoenix crossing the sky in the final shot. With her sacrifice to save the world, she cements her legacy as a truly heroic character and a message of embracing who you are. In her memory, Xavier's school is renamed to the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters. With Hank taking over the school, we then see Xavier retiring to France. The film then goes on to show Charles sitting at a cafe in Paris, sipping on a coffee as his enemy and longtime friend Magneto approaches with a chess set. At first, Charles refuses to play a game of chess with him, which truly makes us feel that Fox really wanted to wrap up all old traditions with their films. Typically, the two would play chess in order to discuss deep topics such as the relations between humans and mutants. With the franchise ending though, they wanted to end the movie with no plan of future conflicts. Although just as the film is about to end, Eric pleads with Charles by saying, "For old time's sake." Then as the camera pans out, we see them playing chess just as they've done many times before. For many, the ending was not enough, but for those of us who understand that the franchise is over, it's actually an ending that makes perfect sense. They weren't able to give us a big wrap up like the Avengers Endgame did that was a culmination of all of the characters, but they at least gave us that one final scene of two old friends playing chess together. And there's not much to explain with this ending because it doesn't lead into any of the next movies that Disney has planned for the series. Instead, it grounds the franchise within its roots of this era's X-Men stories. And that has been the Dark Phoenix ending explained. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, show us some love by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, comment down below with your thoughts on this ending of the X-Men era. Do you think it did the series justice, or were you expecting more? Plus, for more videos like this one, just click that playlist on your screen. From Top 10 Nerd, I'm Johnny Rogers. Until next time, take care.